Right, I believe we are almost there. I think we're there. All right, we are. Oh, we are there. All right, perfect. So, hey everyone, it is Chad here with Breweries in PA. As we've been promoting all week long, as you've probably seen on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, we're going to be sitting down today with Brooks Hemauer of Hemauer Brewing. We want to have a really interesting conversation today, specifically about what it was like to open a brewery during a global pandemic. Some of you may know the brewery from being in the central PA region, and obviously Brooks will be able to share a little bit more of that. But they did open their brewery during this pandemic, and they are still running. So we're going to have a real interesting conversation on that. So first off, Brooks, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, like I said, I know we'll kind of dive right into to you guys, who you are, the whole nine. So, I guess if you want to share, kind of start this conversation, maybe share with everyone your background as it pertains to brewing.
Sure. Brooks Hemauer, Hemauer Brewing Co. Founder, president, head janitor, head brewer, kind of jack of all trades, master of none. Got started brewing about 6 years ago. My wife can attest to this, that I get a little bored during the winter months after football season's over with. So seasonal depression, call it what you want. I just want to be outside in the nice weather mowing my grass. So I figured I'd pick up brewing. I did it once with a friend, had a decent time with it. So needed a project in the winter. So picked it up, got the equipment, brewed it, turned it out okay. I'm sure nowadays it'd probably taste disgusting, but and then just kind of when the passion evolved to what it is, here today. Joined the homebrew club, the Sons of Alchemy. My beer went right, skyward with that, with the knowledge I've gained from that. And then, sat down one day with my wife saying, hey, this is what I've been kicking around. I'm not much for the corporate world. I really don't like it. I've been in this industry, the automotive industry for quite some time, and I don't see my career going where I want it to go. So, this is what I want to do. And she said, yeah, let's do it. Things kind of fell into place, with certain things. And here we are, 3.5 years of planning later.
That's awesome. Congrats. Now, this is your first dive into the commercial world, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Nice.
I've just been, was home brewing for, roughly about 3 years or so, and first started out at just homebrew events that you could pour your own beer, festivals, things of that nature, and just reoccurring theme. Where can I buy your beer? Where can I buy your beer? I want to buy this. I want to buy this. It's like, I can give you everything I have for free, but as soon as I charge you a red cent for it, that's when I start getting in trouble for it.
Yeah.
So that really started fueling that desire in order to be an entrepreneur and provide for my family this way.
That's great. That's great. Now, from what I've seen, and I'm sure locals can attest to this, but your beer had been available commercially before you opened your tap room, right?
That's correct. We actually were licensed in September at our production facility, which is actually my wife and I's detached garage. We renovated that. It's our 7-barrel system. On Monday and Tuesdays, it's only a 22-step walk out the back door for a commute. So
nice.
Very nice. Very nice. So we started to get our beer into some small bars and restaurants, but there came a point where I really wanted to focus on building our supply for the tap room, because we knew we were going to be opening sometime in the spring of 2020. So I wanted to focus on building as much supply as we can, because any new brewery can attest, you will always run out of beer. No matter how much you brew, you will always run out. So I wanted to try to focus on what we had to offer to try to alleviate that problem as best we could.
Mm-hmm.
So packed the cooler as much as I could. And then I just, kind of let the wholesale end kind of dwindle down, just because I, was more so planning and then going into renovations of the tap room itself.
Okay, gotcha. And so I guess if we can start there, right? That is what this whole conversation's about, is again, opening your brewery during this pandemic. So I know we tracked you guys as opening on May 1st. Obviously, pandemic hit Pennsylvania really as far as the state shutdown goes sometime mid-March. So you had a good month and a half, almost 2 months in between. So I guess how far along were you, in your tap room build out by the time the state really kind of shut things down there in mid-March?
I was 3 days away from calling the liquor control board for a final inspection.
Oof.
So, yeah, we took over this location January 1, and I started renovations myself. And it was just all real fine-tuned details. So, kind of fine-tuning the draft system, touch-up paint here, real little things that I knew just needed a couple days just to square things away for a final inspection. And then, what was it, the 13th, I believe?
Just about, yeah.
That it finally happened. It's like, we're so close.
Oh.
I mean, literally, I'm ready to call the liquor control board to come out for a final inspection to get our license. And it absolutely crushed me.
Yeah.
Because I've been putting in, 12, 14, 16-hour days at the tap room here, trying to get up and as soon as we can. The original goal was March 1st. That didn't happen. There were some things that went on that, outside our control that didn't allow that. So then it was April 1st to have the opening. But yeah, 3 days away.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, I mean, you're open now, which is obviously good. I'll tell you this much: we track brewery openings constantly. We usually visit the breweries before they get open. To go from original date of March 1st to May 1st, honestly, isn't that bad. We've seen some breweries that original date versus the date they should have been open as far as 6-8 months, and that's without a pandemic. So as much as I'm sure it sucked to have to do that, at least you got there in a bit quick of a time, if you will. So I guess talk to us then a little bit about that. So you were scheduled for an inspection, state shuts down. How easy? Obviously you're open, which things went well for you, but how easy was it then to get people to come out and do that inspection, even though kind of we were shut down as a state?
Yeah, it wasn't difficult from the local end. Contact the inspector. Yeah, I've been working with the rough-in inspections, things of that nature. So there's been a relationship that's been built. So I contacted him. He said, "No, we're open for business. You just can't stop down at the local township office unannounced. You just need to make an appointment." But he came out a couple days later. Looked over everything. Yep, here's your occupancy permit. Here's what your occupancy is. You're all set to go from our standpoint. Great. I contacted the Department of Agriculture for health permits. Once again, not an issue. A couple days, they came out. The governor deemed food safety is a vital importance, which I would have to agree with them on that. So they were still performing the field inspections. And that's where we kind of hit the snag, because the Liquor Control Board would not allow field inspections. And the agent needed to come out and do a final inspection to make sure everything was the way it was on the plans and things of that nature. But they halted all operations for field inspection. So that's when we hit our first big, huge roadblock.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, that's good that they were able to still do those inspections, right? I mean, obviously, you're where you're where you want to be, which was opening. So then let's talk about the opening itself. So state shuts down. You're kind of trying to figure out, all right, what are we going to do to open? What would you say was one of the bigger business decisions, or one of the biggest decisions you had to make in general, that maybe you wouldn't have had to make if we weren't open in a pandemic? What really did you have to decide or think about in order to say, yes, we're going to open while the state is still shut down or modified shutdown?
I mean, you kind of hit on it. It's the decision, when do we open?
Mm-hmm.
Being an essential business, we have the luxury of being open. Now, granted, it's only for takeout, curbside service, things of that nature. But, my wife and I kind of, once we finally were licensed, we kind of gave it a couple weeks. Okay, this COVID thing, is it just, is it media hype? Is it, is this going to blow over? So we gave it a couple weeks kind of to see what was going on. Once we realized what was going on, like, this isn't going away anytime soon, I made the decision that, we have a perishable product that's getting older, by the day, as well as we're still receiving the monthly bills for, the electric, the heat, the water, as our capital is starting to dwindle down to very, very low. As we have to go, we have to get going because we have to start getting some cash flow into this business, as well as my wife, who is self-employed with her photography business, is not working. So her income is zero. My income is zero. We have a mortgage and we have 2 children to feed. We have to go. We have to go now. And then that's when we decided May 1st, let's start with the beginning of the month, make the announcement, and we're going to go with it and see what happens.
Right. Now, you make some amazing points, right? Where it's like you just have no choice. You got to do this because of how much is on the line. Had you ever considered maybe not opening or holding off until, let's say, the pandemic was more manageable?
I did. There's a time where kind of play the pros versus cons. If we wait, will it be better? The only problem is when I made that decision, we did not know very much about this virus and what is all, how it's transmitted, who's likely to receive it, things of that nature. And all you hear on the news is more cases, more deaths, more cases, more deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I just shut the news off because I couldn't stand listening to it.
I don't blame you.
But we had to go. We got to go. I mean, it's been 3.5 years that I've been working at this project. And I'm going to be damned if this is what's going to hold us back. And this is going to take us out. Because, when this first came out, there was a very real sensation that our dreams just may be squashed, may evaporate right in front of our eyes. And it has nothing to do with any decisions that we make. But, I'm determined enough that we will make this work. And, I've said this time and time. I use this phrase so often. My wife is so sick and tired of hearing about it. We're just going to have to figure it out.
Right.
And everyone's been so patient and they understand that, it may take a little bit longer because of the proper sanitation, because of this, we're trying to keep everyone safe. And that's our biggest priority is keep everyone safe and enjoy our products because we want to see you again. We just don't want it to be a one-time deal.
Of course, right? It's all about that customer return. Well, I can tell you, we run a Facebook group page ourselves, and that's where a lot of people share the different beers that they're enjoying throughout Pennsylvania. And I will say, pictures of your beers are popping up frequently. You definitely have an audience that's excited by your beer, that is pumped to see it, flowing a little bit more frequently, if you will. So I think you're definitely accomplishing the goals that you've set out to, or at least hope you see that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I guess what would you say was maybe the biggest hurdle that you had to get over in order to decide to open or to finally get open, if you will?
Well, that was the licensing.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing the field inspections. I'm like, well, now we're at the mercy of the government. Whenever they decide to open, which is funny, funny story. When we received our TTB license from the federal government, that was right after the federal shutdown. So we're a brewery, a tale of 2 shutdowns on both ends. So the federal level and the state. So we survived both of them. Thankfully, we're members of the Brewers of Pennsylvania. They have an attorney on retainer. Yep. They have a way of communicating with the Liquor Control Board. And I just contacted the attorney. I said, hey, here's the deal. Look, we got our occupancy, we got our health permit, we have everything we need other than the final inspection. Is there anything we can do? He said, just give me pictures of the license, give me a couple pictures showing you have 10 seats, and I'll forward it to them. The next day we received our license and email. So, it was just warp speed of how things went. And and I don't think we'd be open today if it wasn't for the Brewers of Pennsylvania. So, just hats off to them. Mm-hmm. And, I'm just so grateful that we were members of them to help us out in this situation.
Well, I know they're going to love to hear that. I'll have to let Dan know that you said that if he's not watching already. I know we have a relationship with them ourselves. And you're right. They do a lot of great work advocating for their members. And it sounds like, you're a prime example. You're probably one of their best stories right now, right? So that's great. That's great to hear. So I guess, and this goes for now, but also while you were opening, how would you say the pandemics impacted, your brew days, how you brew, maybe what you're brewing, whether it's a lack of material available or a lack of being able to get certain materials, whatever it may be, kind of, can you talk to me? Because you've been brewing now commercially for a few years, so you know what it's like to brew, obviously, pandemic versus no pandemic. So how's that been for you?
Ingredients really haven't been an issue because I actually stocked up with everything because I knew we were going to get hammered once we got open. So I mean, I stocked up with grain, stocked up on hops, yeast, XYZ. I was, we were fully prepared that way. It was more so on the packaging supply. Once we found out that, okay, we can at least serve our beer, but it has to be to go. So we have to package it. So, we were planning originally on purchasing a Growler machine, but, as soon as the shutdown happened, that was the first thing that, went online quick, got the 32-ounce Growler machine, as well as I found out a way to purchase a full pallet of Growlers. That took about 2-3 weeks in order for them to be delivered. So that, that was the first initial hurdle. And then we decided to purchase a second Growler machine, can seamer, for 16 as well as 8-ounce cans.
Okay.
Just to offer some variety to offer our people. As well as, the first one took about 2 weeks in order to receive. The second can seamer took 4 weeks in order for it for that to be received, just because they're so busy. I mean, everyone's going through this. Everyone has to package their beer.
Yeah.
And there's so many tap rooms, us included, that wasn't even planning on it. That, it's all draft. Well, you have to pivot and figure out what you can do and do it well. And I was talking to some friends in the industry, and they're still seeing backlogs for it now that, I think things are going to get eventually better and they're going to get caught up. But just cans, pallets of cans were out several weeks. And that was the biggest hurdle to get over just from a supply standpoint.
Yeah, that's an interesting, it's interesting what you're saying, on two fronts. I know for our viewers watching, I don't know how well you're aware of this, but a lot of breweries kind of hold off on the Growler machine because, let's face it, it's an expensive purchase. A lot of new breweries we talk to, usually Growler machines are phase 2 in their brewery, right? Get some cash flowing and get that going. Now here you are, and you find yourself in a situation where all you have is packaged goods, and you not only buy one, but you said you bought 2, right?
Yeah, the second one mainly, I really started thinking, once we finally got open, I really started thinking about things, I've been to several breweries for their soft openings, grand openings, things like that, and just talking to people in the industry, that it seems like there's a reoccurring theme that new people going to a brewery they've never been to before, the one thing they always purchase is a flight. They want to try as much as they can, but they don't want to have to buy a full pint because they may not like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with us, we're stuck. They're stuck to 32 ounces. So they're going to, basically take a win and a prayer to hopefully they like it. And that could be the detriment to us. So one way I thought of how to circumvent that issue is to come out, to offer 8-ounce cans, what we're deeming the home flight. So it's something that they can try for a minimal cost and not have to commit to 32 ounces. So if you don't care for it, you only have to choke down a couple more ounces. You don't have to choke through or pour out, the rest of the beer. So, and that went over tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And people would come in and just like, okay, I want one of everything. So we're just seeing all these little baby cans. And I know a couple of the pictures came up on your page that just promoting the brand, which was great.
Yeah, the 8-ounce cans are interesting. I know I've seen them from you, I've seen them from Workhorse, and I've seen them from Abjuration out in Pittsburgh. I don't think I've seen too many more than that, but I think they're becoming more of a more of a crowd pleaser, as you say, right? People don't want to commit to full pours, or let's face it, if you've got a high ABV beer, I'll be the first one to admit it. I don't need a whole pounder of it or a 32 ounces. I don't mind, just an 8-ounce taste. So that's interesting. This pandemic pretty much, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but do you think you would have opened with Growler machines available right away if you opened under normal circumstances?
No, not initially. That was just, let's get some cash flow. Let's get the dust settled. Let's get the staff in. Let's get everyone trained. And then let's move towards it. It was on the plan, but I mean, this was a month or two down the line.
Yeah.
But with business, you have to be mobile. You have to be able to pivot. You have to see what's going on, what's going to work. And in all honesty, nowadays, it's getting better now, but we're just in survival mode. In all honesty, we're just trying to keep the lights on, keep the rent paid, the roof over our head, the kids fed. I mean, that's not just myself included. It's everyone. Some people's finances are better than others, and we're just trying to figure it out and do the best we can with what we're offered, what we're allowed to do.
Yeah, hey, I mean that's kind of where we're at right in life right now under this pandemic, regardless of industry. So it sounds like there's a lot of people that can sympathize with you and understand where you're at. And like I said, it's really good to see the reaction from not only the local area but across the state to you guys opening up. Now, to that point, as far as local area goes, so I know you're obviously in the Harrisburg area yourself, brewery wise. What's it been like to open in an area like Harrisburg? I mean, we know the area really well when you talk about kind of the brew scene there, but can you talk to us a little bit about what it was like for you to open in that area?
I mean, this answer goes more so not just for opening, but just once we made the plans and made the announcement that we're going pro, is the relationships that we have built with other brewery owners, brewers, things of that nature. Everyone has been so welcoming, as well as so offering any information, any questions, please just ask. And I mean, it's still amazing me to this day that, in a ways we kind of are competitors, but yet we're so willing to help each other out. So that way we both can make it to the end of the day, to the finish line together. Vice versa, leaving someone in the dust. So it's just been amazing. I have to thank everyone in this area, as well as, throughout the state that I've met, to welcoming into the, brother fraternity of brewers in Pennsylvania, to that way we can provide for our family.
Yeah, yeah. I agree to that statement wholeheartedly. We have seen that in the entire existence that we've been around. That breweries are, it's almost like a brotherhood, sisterhood, if you will, from a standpoint of wanting to see each other, as you say, kind of cross that finish line. And that's good to see that. That's good to see that you're seeing that even during a pandemic, where, in all honesty, you wouldn't put it against a business to maybe try to edge out another business, because it is, as you said earlier, kind of everyone's trying to survive, everyone's in survival mode. But even though we're in that survival mode, it sounds like people are still being genuine to themselves and genuine to the industry, and that's awesome to hear. Really is. So we do have a question here from in the chat, and feel free if you have any questions, pop them in. But the question is, and I'll modify the question though a little bit. The question is, does a brewery qualify for financial assistance during the pandemic? And I'll change that a little bit for you. Were there any specific that you know of, like pandemic-related loans or financial opportunities that you took advantage of, or were they not available? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I looked into it a little bit. Unfortunately, we haven't opened, so we don't have any type of financials that we can give to a bank in order to PPP loans, things of that nature. So unfortunately, nothing was really available to us, but we were able to, my wife and I were able to position ourselves to, kind of weather the storm. We're savers. We have that rainy day fund, and yeah, it's pouring outside right now, but at least we plan for the future for something like this to happen in order to survive. And, now that we're open for on-site consumption, now granted it's only at 50%, we are definitely seeing a influx of people coming in, which is great to see. It's so nice to see butts in the seats, other than just, hey, how are you doing? And only seeing their eyes and hearing their voice when they pick up their beer.
That's great. That's great. And that actually kind of pivots to my next question. So you are operating under the green phase currently. So how's that been for you? Kind of what have you been doing? What does operations look like for you under green phase?
Right now, it's just my wife and I handling all the operations at the tap room. Before the pandemic, we did hire on a staff of five individuals. That was probably one of the hardest things that I had to do is, contact them and say, look, here's the situation. At this point in time, it's just going to be my wife and I that, we're just going to have to ride the storm out. Once we go back 100%, yes, I'm get you on. Or if it's to the point, even at 50%, where my wife and I just can't handle it, we'll start, kind of rotating you in to start getting some hours, getting you so familiar with the product, things of that nature. So we had a really, really good weekend. My wife and I also did start food as well, on-site food, that we wanted to get established with time. So, we felt the time was right for food, and just little stuff, like paninis, grilled cheese,
Nice.
things of that nature. Nothing too crazy right now. Just something you can grill up real quick for people, but at least it's an option for food, which I feel is definitely necessary for a tap room to have.
Yeah, I agree. I know a lot of breweries are hesitant to put in a kitchen. I know one brewery owner told me, he's like, I don't want to manage a restaurant, and I get that, but at the same time, that's more revenue coming in, puts more butts in seats, offers more variety. So that's cool that you're able to operate that. What's your kitchen setup look like? Is it a full kitchen? Is it kind of just kind of quick ovens or microwaves and crock pots, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so basically it's a panini press and a pizza oven. So my wife and I will come in the morning and then just pre-make some sandwiches. So all we have to do is basically take it out of the refrigerator, take it out of the foil wrap and put it on the panini press. A couple minutes later, add some chips and a pickle, and you're good to go. We also do some pretzel braids. We make some beer cheese as well too to go along with it for dipping sauce. We gotta find some mustard to go along with it as well too, because I'm a huge fan of mustard with my pretzels. But it's we don't have the square footage to put a full kitchen in, even a halfway pseudo kitchen. It's like an open kitchen that off to the side we have a little roll around coolers, under counter coolers that we just put. One of them we put the Growler machines on, the other one we put the panini press. We do all our prep work on it. So one of those things, you just got to make it work and figure it out.
Yeah, and I love that's what this conversation has been about, is really just kind of figure it out, right? It's life has handed you for lack of better words, a shitty situation. It'd be easy to look at that and say, woe is me, but that doesn't seem to be, based on this entire conversation, that doesn't seem to be your way of going about it. And that's awesome, right? And that's obviously only going to benefit you when things return to normal. So it's really cool to hear that. So thank you. And then as far as visiting your brewery, what kind of hours are you operating under right now?
So Wednesday through Friday, Wednesday and Thursday we're 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Fridays we're open from 11 to 9. Saturdays we're open 1 to 9. Now, people in the Dillsburg area, we are going to be at the Dillsburg Farmers Market every Saturday morning, so we'll have beer to go there.
Cool.
We just need some time to, because the farmers market is up until 12 o'clock, so we need some time to break down and head into the tap room.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sundays, we're open from 11 to 4.
Okay, great. And I know I just saw on social media that you released the All Together with the folks over at Mellow Mink, so I'm assuming cans are also available to pick up. Yep, there it is. I'm assuming cans are available to pick up at the brewery?
Yeah, we have it on draft and 4 packs to go,
okay.
And as well as the majority of our draft beer you can take to go in a 32, 16, or 8 ounce capacity.
Oh, the 8 ounce are available. Okay, I'm sorry, I must have missed that. That's awesome. And every beer is available at 8 ounces?
Not every. There's only certain beers, like from getting back to a previous question, the brewing capacity. I've been brewing a lot on our small system, our pilot system.
Okay.
So case in point, we have a Swedish fish Blennerweiss that we use the candy in. We only have 2/6 of it, and I don't want to get into a situation where someone orders it online, a crawler online, we pour half of it, and then it kicks.
Yeah.
And then what do you I don't want the disappointment of someone being so excited because they never had it before, and then we can't fulfill that expectation. So, that's one of those that's on-site only. But we do have 3 bottle releases as well, too. We have a Brett Saison. We have a chocolate-covered cherry stout we brewed in collaboration with Gear House down in Chambersburg, as well as we have our first barrel-aged beer release, we call our Quaker Race Trail Stout that was aged in Maker's Mark bourbon barrels for 6 months. So that's on draft as well as to go in bottles.
That sounds delicious. That
it
sounds
is.
absolutely
really
delicious. Is. But that's just the Maker's Mark fan in me, so that's probably all that is. But I'm excited. Okay, so I guess at this point we're kind of winding down to our half hour, so I definitely want to get in, this question for sure, and maybe one other before we end here. But what would you say is that one piece of advice you would give to somebody who's not, doesn't necessarily have to be just opening a brewery, but opening a business? And obviously we hope to never go through a pandemic again, right? So not necessarily opening during a pandemic, but opening with everything against you, right? Everything tells you not to open. You've got more hurdles than the normal person is dealing with. What would you say your one piece of advice is to getting your business up and running, even though everything tells you not to?
Not to sound cliche, two sayings come to mind. Number one, just keep the faith. Keep the faith, and victory belongs to the ones who believe in it the most. You have to keep grinding, just grind it out. Trust me, there was times where I was about in tears, and it just, have your time, have your moment. Yes, emotions are real, have them, but collect yourself, collect your emotions, and fuel it. Use that as fuel to motivate you, and keep grinding, because at the end of the day, as long as you believe in it, it will happen. It will happen.
Well, that's great. I think I just found the quick, kind of 10-second snapshot that's going to reel people in on watching this video here in the future. So that's great advice. Thanks so much for sharing that, Brooke. So I guess to kind of wrap this up, is there anything that the audience should know about your brewery moving forward? Any exciting releases you've got going on? Any plans you have as you kind of continue this green phase and what that looks like? Anything you want to share with the audience about the brewery in general?
Yeah, I try to plan out my brewing schedule that we have a new release every Friday. Now, this Friday is kind of the exception to the rule. We'll have our Americanization, our American Pale Ale back on draft. That was actually the first big brew that we did on the big system. So we'll have plenty of that because I was just doing small batches of that. We have a small batch of our Mango Milkshake IPA that has done very, very well at every festival we've gone to, as well as one thing that I really always wanted to keep with the business is the experimental part. The artistry, as I like to call it, the liquid art. That's what got me in. Believing in myself to have that passion that I'm creating something from nothing, and we're going to have a lemon shandy on this Friday as well too. So it's going to be great when it's about 90 degrees outside this weekend.
I was going to say that's probably one of the best beers you could be drinking right now. So I'm excited to see that start to pop up on our feed.
Absolutely. Nice. I kegged it this morning, and I'm from Wisconsin, so Liney's is huge. Back when, and like for a minute, just smelling, I'm like, man, smells like Liney's candy.
Hey, I would be remiss if I didn't say I have enjoyed many Liney Kugels in my day. So yes, I can appreciate that, and I will definitely have to check that out.
That's my one macro that I will drink in excess.
Hey, everyone's got theirs. I could tell you stories upon stories of all the guys from Pittsburgh and some in Philly, but that have enjoyed so many macro beers at so many different CBCs. I'm not going to out those guys. They all know who they are, but we've enjoyed it together. So look, everyone's got their kind of go-to. I get it. I'm not going to hold it against anyone. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you doing this, Brooks. Thank you so much. For everyone who's been watching, I really appreciate you guys checking it out as well. This video, I'm going to end this video, but it will remain up. I'll probably cut some things here and there to really kind of showcase all of the excitement that we talked about today. Thank you so much, Brooks, and looking forward to, once things get to normal, having a beer with you.
Absolutely. Glad to have you guys.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, cheers.